And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit, like God's property. It's hard to market, so we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. 'Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight, 'cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
I'm one of them.
I know that.
Because, you know, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean,
over the Caribbean,
South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
You know what you are? You're an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israel, that's who we are. That's who we are. So, if you give me time, if you give me time,
But
all that he said,
no, we don't have.
so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of
Yes.
notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews?
Black people can't be anti-Semitic. We are Jew. You understand what I'm saying? We are Jew. So cool out. Until you do your facts, until you really do the facts with the fake indoctrination that y'all put into the schools and all that, you know what I'm saying? We're not following y'all rules.
The entire Bible is about black people. Not only was Jesus black, but every character in the Bible seems to be black too. Yeah, Zephaniah and Jeremiah and Jebediah, those all aren't white people names, okay? And Jesus wasn't some tan, partially melanated Middle Eastern person either. I'm talking straight up black dude, okay? Even in the book of Revelation, when you get the vision of Daniel, he's describing someone with feet like burnt brass and white woolly hair, and we've got the deep running water voice with the red eyes, and you guys, he's black. The Jewish people are black people, like Kanye was right.
This world and the next world are asymmetrical. The next world is where the majority of a person's actions, which determine his identity, are compensated. For the righteous, they exist in the world to come and they're rewarded. And for those whose major complexion is black, are excluded from the world to come.
We're going to take back our country, and we're going to make Israel great again, and we're going to make Israel great again,
And we're going to make Israel great again.
we're going to make America great again. We're going to make them both great again, greater than ever before. They don't pay rent, the city doesn't have, it's a chain of events that's so bad. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately. End immediately. You know, it'll end immediately. We are the party of common sense. I knew that once they had open borders, all of the countries, I didn't think about all over the world. I thought in South America, it's all over the world. Last week, a lot of people came in from the Congo, a big prison in the Congo in Africa. Welcome to the United States. They came in from the Congo. They came in from the Congo. They came in from the Congo.
Hitler was, and the Nazis, of course, expanded on Margaret Sanger's approach to eugenics, right? Eugenics was a movement that was born in the United States under hard doctrines of racism with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African-American community in this country, right? To eliminate them with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah, with
the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African American community in this country, right? To eliminate them.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
I want to say peace and blessings to everyone. My apologies for being a little late. And I know that this is an unscheduled live. I normally don't do lives on Sunday nights or first day of the week nights. But I wanted to just go ahead and do a quick live on this, have a discussion on this. I'm going to drop the link inside the comment section. And I know my sister Carol is going to jump in. And I'll open it up if others want to jump in and share your thoughts on the movie. But I will say this, keep your thoughts brief. Let's keep it real simple. Be respectful with your thoughts if you do jump on. But Sister Carol, I just went on to drop the line, the link inside the chat. If you want to come on into this session, feel free to do so. And let me go ahead and just do a couple of things here. Let me set my screen up here. And before we get into it, family, let me know if you can, if my mic sounds good. If my mic is good, type 1. If my mic sounds bad, type 2. If I need to adjust my sound, type 2. All right. So, family, and before I bring Sister Carol on, you guys probably already heard about the Tyler Perry's movie Straw. And you may have even watched it. It's on Netflix. It premiered on Netflix. And I have my thoughts about the movie, and I'm going to share my thoughts about the movie, what triggered me to do this live. And I'm going to bring my sister Carol on here to elaborate on her thoughts and so forth. But I really want to bring this topic here to the floor because, again, you guys know from time to time I'll give my thoughts and assessments on movies that are out there. And I wanted to do it on this one as well because of some of the responses I received on a post on Facebook, and I'll share that here in a second. But let me bring Sister Carol here in here first before we get into it. How's it going, sis?
Hey, bro, how's it going?
Doing all right. I know I'm running a little late. You know how me. You know.
Yeah, we're gonna blame it on you, nigga. You can't blame it on me.
Well, I had to get these graphics. At least I got to put some type of PowerPoint together.
Mm-hmm.
Try to at least have something to present. And also, I didn't get a chance to go in and try to get. I was trying to see if I could get some clips from the movie
Yeah.
at the same time. You know how that goes. If I get some, then they'll start trying to flag the video, and so. But at least I was able to, I went back over the movie. Actually, I went beyond the 15 minutes, right? I said, let me just go back over,
Nah, see, you got
and
to watch the whole thing. How are we going to be? What was the guy's name? Ebert and what was his sidekick that did the
Cisco and
movie?
Ebert.
Yeah, how
Yeah,
we going to
but
be Cisco and Ebert?
I ain't trying to be them, but at the
Ah,
same time, sometimes you don't need to watch it a whole hour and 45 minutes to get a full assessment. So, but I watched it, I went back over it, and
mm-hmm.
it just reinforced what my thoughts already are. You and we already discussed it, but
Right.
I still want to at least we could present this to the people and, share some views, some things that some key things that people missed, and you can elaborate on those things, and so I kind of want to do that because I do look at this as an opportunity to at least have a discussion. It can always be used as a discussion piece, but anything you want to share before we get into it? Any thoughts?
Um, stereotypes are stereotypes. We are known for stereotyping our own, and then we perpetuate it. Some things I feel do not need to be stereotyped. I think some things are just rational thinking and common sense thinking that we need to start interjecting into our lives to eliminate the stereotypes. I'm gonna start to kick it off that way.
Absolutely, and I know exactly what you mean by that. And
Mm-hmm.
I've expressed offline my thoughts about Tyler Perry movies, and not just
Yes.
Tyler Perry movies, but some of our other brothers and sisters
Right.
that when they make movies, they have to perpetuate a stereotype that's not there.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Always the sister got to be loud and obnoxious. The
Mm-hmm.
brother got to curse every two words.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that narrative. And what's sad, like I thought about this. I said this a while back when the Black Panthers movie came out with with Marvel, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
You hardly heard any cursing in it.
No.
You didn't see any sex scenes.
No.
You didn't see all this
Mm-hmm.
over the top stereotypical behavior
Mm-hmm.
in that movie, and it was a blockbuster.
Right.
But when it comes to movies within our community, it always has to be over the top. You always have to have a guy, in the movie that's flamboyant. You know what I mean? All those
Right.
different things that builds
Mm-hmm.
up a narrative
Mm-hmm.
that's not there. Now we
Right.
understand that there's certain things that's, kind of within attributes within certain communities,
Right.
but it just rubs me the wrong way, a
Right.
certain kind of way when I see certain movies like that. To your point,
Right. Correct. I totally agree. And we need to
so
stop it.
yeah, absolutely. So that's for me. I'm going to be real with you guys. I never liked Tyler Perry movies because I consider them like Chitlin played movies, and I'm not trying to disrespect anyone out there when I say that, but it just like Chitlin circuit like type movies because of I never liked how like Sister Carol pointed out the stereotypes. But I will say, and the movie that caught me by surprise that I really liked was the movie that he released almost less than a year ago with Washington in it about the military, the women in the military.
Mm-hmm.
That was an excellent movie. And kind of went against what you typically see from
Well,
his
he had
group.
he had to because it's a true story. So he had to stick to the facts of what happened in the story in order to produce it. And he didn't direct it. Kerry Washington directed it. He just EP'd it. And but she did the directing. And he had other writers to help write the actual script. So that's why it was different because it was a factual movie. Now I will say this: I have two of his movies that I really liked. He did very very well, and one of them is similar to this situation of this movie, but the woman had a little bit more rationale in how she operated. That was Mr. Deeds, And then the other movie he did that's not about this, but it was well rounded, and that was A Family That Prays. Now, those are the only two movies of his I really liked out of all the things he's produced. The Chitlin thing with Medea
Yeah.
catalog. But those two movies right there demonstrated, especially Mr. D, demonstrated the have and have not situation, because his family came from wealth, built an IT, but was this maid that was there who was a single mom. And she was trying to raise her child on her own without anyone wanting, almost narrated this because she wanted to go to nursing school herself. She worked at the building. They were evicted, so she was living out her van, her and her daughter, and trying to keep it on the low. But it got peeped when she ran into his brother, who was an alcoholic and like a rich kid that nobody wants to talk to. And now his brother's running everything, so he's jealous of his brother and his power. So he came at the girl because she accidentally parked in their parking space, and it just escalated a whole bunch of situation. But in the end, he helped her, not the brother, but
Yeah.
Tyler's role.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
got
similar.
you.
But it's similar to this situation. But this situation is it was no rationale in the thinking with this individual, just character.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to get into, because for me, I understand, building up a story, building up a character
Hmm.
development, and all of that. But for me, I just didn't like the movie. The first 15 minutes to me was way over the top, and this is what I posted on Facebook. Actually, I think matter of fact, I'll just highlight this passage here real quick before we get into my post. Proverbs 14:12. This is coming from Proverbs 14:12. You guys may already know this passage, but I'm gonna pull it up anyway. There is a way, in other words, darak is the Hebrew word that you would see there, which seemeth right, yashar, unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Excuse me. Let me read it one more time. There's a way, in other words, a man or a path, which seemeth right unto man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Now, the reason why I posted this here, and I want to make this clear, guys, you are entitled to your opinion, regardless of what the majority may say. Just because the majority may say something is good doesn't necessarily mean that you have to default to that, get into the herd behavior. And that tends to happen, especially when you are dealing with certain subjects, certain topics. Many, even in this community, will bring up how the majority feels. And this is where you get that term common sense, or, when you start thinking about common sense, that is, in a nutshell, the common consensus of what the majority may think or see things. The scripture doesn't tell us to think that way. It said, there is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. So I have every right to feel how I feel. You have the right to feel how you feel. I don't need to watch what someone else has said about the movie to make my own determinations. Similar to like Sister Carol brought up Cisco and Eber. They can give their opinions, but it's been quite a few movies that they said was terrible.
It was great.
Turned out to be really good movies.
Correct.
Matter of fact, look at how they were treating the movie Sinners. Even though I don't agree with Sinners in terms of how far they went out there with the hoodoo stuff, but they thought that movie was going to bomb.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended up doing far better, breaking all kinds of records. We can
Yes,
look
it
at a
did.
number of other movies,
Yes, it did.
that the majority said was going to be a bad movie, and it turned out to be good. What's the other movie? What's the movie that came out early, about 6 months ago? With the wannabe Negro Messiah. Was it Thomas? Something like that. Clarence, the Book of Clarence.
Clarence. That was a
Remember when
couple
that
years
came
ago.
out?
That was
How the
last year.
majority,
23. Yeah.
how the majority was trying to bash the movie. It turned out to be a
Mhm.
very good movie.
Yep, it
And
was.
you understood the angle where it was coming from. They
Right.
was bashing the movie before it even got released.
It
Even
was
some
calling it,
within this community were doing that.
of course, we're calling it blasphemous.
Yeah. So my point that I'm making, family, is uh, I don't need to take any type of consensus for what other people are saying. When
Mhm.
it's all said and done, it's on you. All right. Anything you want to share with that, sis, before I get
Oh,
into?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, entertainment is up to you. What's entertaining to you might be entertaining to me. It's all I behold and what you take in and what I don't take in. So you're absolutely right. It's an opinion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I made a post on Facebook,
Hmm.
and this is the post that I made. Tyler Perry's movie, Straw is Trash. Highly over the top, attempting to create sympathy for its character. It attempts to mesh John Q, Set It Off, and Fugitive. I could only take 15 minutes, right?
And what's
That's
so
all I
funny about
posted.
that? And what's so funny about that when you posted, I started laughing because, excuse me, when I saw the trailer, that's the first thing I said. I said, "Oh, this is John Q." and Set It Off, sprinkled with what was the other movie I came up with? It wasn't The Fugitive. It was another movie. I can't think of it right now. Oh, Daddy's Girl. Daddy's Girl was all mixed together and made a new movie out of it. That's all I said. I said, "This is the same." I said, "When we gonna get out of this this stereotype of making a movie? The same old, same old. Why we got to always have the downtrodden black woman with a kid trying to make it in the project?"
Absolutely. And the thing that, and it didn't surprise me because, you're going to have people that's going to post their strong opinions.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them got disrespectful.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share, I'm not going to go into the details. I'm going to share a couple of the thoughts here, and we could just talk about it here. And Sister Carol, you could help walk us through, some of the key points. I'm not going
Okay.
to let all, cover it all because I know, but I want
Mm-hmm.
the people to know because and to understand why I feel like it was just way over the top. The first 15 minutes, it was like, man, come on, man. We understand that you want to build up the character
Mm-hmm.
and that she's going through some stuff. But I'm
Right.
like, oh my gosh, I was just waiting for, a satellite to fall somewhere. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, come on, man. It was worse than Charlie Brown. You know what I mean? So this is some of the comments here, right? Uh, for example, this person here is, uh, I blurred out the individual because it was someone else that was they were responded to. But it says here, to call this movie trash is asinine. Just even make an insulting post like that. It says to call this movie is asinine. I can relate to every single word that you are saying. I don't like every movie that Tyler Perry makes, but this hit different when you have seen the same things. And it's in every community. A single mother is just trying to get through the day. And for me, it's like, wait a minute. They even go to that point and say it's asinine to say the movie is trash. And then someone else posted, right? It was others, but I just highlighted a couple of them. It says, uh, pointing at me, as you should take an assessment of me. Assessment? Well, I'm going to do all of that for her. I'm voicing my thoughts. I thought the acting was good. Civility goes a long way, Dr. Kelly. Right? I'm like, okay. Then this other person, right? Shalom, it definitely touched on strength of true sisterhood. I'm like, okay. And it says trauma bonding and negative effects of stress women endure when overwhelmed with life struggles. Uh, Mental health awareness is so underrated and under acknowledged in the Black community. It also shows how certain age groups of individuals have more empathy than others. Like the millennial mindset was focused more on self. The men had very little emotional awareness to the struggles of a woman. Sometimes women wisdom is downplayed. My men's logistical thinking, I happen to really like it. I mean, it's just some stuff. So, what are your thoughts so far, Sister Carol? We'll get into the movie, but I just wanted to just read some of these things. What's your thoughts of what I just read to you thus far?
What I got from that is the same thing I said earlier, the stereotypical downtrodden single black mother or the angry black woman, more appropriately, who just can't get a break, this can't get this can't get that. And that's not true. We are not downtrodden. We are not angry people, angry women walking around. We're not out here struggling and trying to scratch and survive, waiting in the soup line and good times. We're not doing that. Yes, you may have some different levels of poverty, and you have some different levels of things that may happen to you along the way. But the thing is about your choice and how you handle it. And there's sources out there allow you to handle it. And I think what they're pushing here, there may be some things maybe resonated with them. I don't know what their childhood was, or how they grew up, or whatever they saw, but everything is not like that.
Yeah.
There's poverty people who live well. They keep their
Look,
house clean. Nobody's kept telling you
exactly.
just because you in poverty, you can't keep your house clean. You can sweep, you can pick up trash around you. You don't have to look like you live in.
Exactly. And let me make this clear to some of you guys. I am the product of a single mother who had,
Correct.
by the time she was 21, she had 4 kids, 4 boys on top of that. By the
Hmm.
time she was 23, she had 5 of us.
Correct.
There was 5 of us. My father was a pimp, all of that. My grandmother had to raise us because of just how hard it was for her. But we'll get into that, but more aspects of the movie. But the point that I'm making is one thing I can say: my mother never used any excuses. She pressed harder. It
Hmm.
was hard for her. Can you imagine having 4 boys before you are legal? My older brother she had my older brother. She was 15, had me 16.
Hmm.
My brother under me 17. Then my other brother 18. One
Yep.
year after the other.
Correct.
4 consecutive years
Hmm.
having children.
Yep.
And growing up in the projects, growing up in the rough area. Then when my grandmother stepped in, it wasn't just me and my brothers. It went from being my mother and me and my brothers, and there was times that we were homeless, sleeping in the hallways of buildings
Hmm.
for months at a time.
Hmm.
So when my grandmother jumped in the midst of all of that, it went from being me and my mother, me and my brothers and my mother, to being my grandmother with me and my brothers and cousins.
Right.
It was 14 of us then. Went from being my mother with total of 5 boys to my
Hmm.
grandmother with 14.
Wow.
My aunt's kids,
Hmm.
my uncle's kid,
Hmm.
and my mother's
Right.
children.
Right.
So I want to make this clear. I'm not oblivious, and I know my grandmother didn't even have a 8th grade education.
Hmm.
She obtained all her education after all of us were grown and out the house.
Hmm.
She got her high school diploma, her bachelor's, her master's, and her doctorate degree, all in her 70s.
Yep. I
So
like my
I want to
grandmother.
make it clear, and she made no excuses. And to your point, our house was never dirty.
Mm-mm.
We had to make sure we cleaned the house. We had chores. We did all those things. So
Correct.
that's why I'm glad that you said that. So at least gave me an opportunity to let the people know that's listening. You
Hmm.
know, I am not one of those individuals that's clueless. I saw a single mother have all the children that I mentioned, and then
Hmm.
a single grandmother
Yep.
raise her children's children.
Yep. Similar to mine. My mother was a single mother. In fact, she had me in the 60s. It wasn't, you couldn't, having children out of wedlock back then was against the law. You couldn't keep a job if you were pregnant. Um, she found someone who would hire her while she was pregnant with me until she delivered because it was difficult because nobody would hire you. It was just against the law. They didn't have the laws they have now in place. In fact, that was made the law be created for why you got FMLA now. So mothers who get pregnant or women who get pregnant can still keep their job until they deliver their child or continue working until they deliver their child. But back then you could not. You had to deal with it and find somebody who will hire you to take care of you. But my grandmother was the foundation. I grew up with my grandmother and my mother in the house together until my mother went back to college, got her degree, and went on and so forth. But at that time, I thought we were rich, but because how my
Guess what?
grandmother kept
Yeah.
house.
Yeah. And to your point, we didn't know we were poor
Yeah,
until we
exactly.
went to church.
That part. And even when
That's
we went
what
to
we
church,
learned
I didn't know.
what we didn't have until we went to church, and some of the so-called children of actually started with the parents. It wasn't the children, it was the
Mm-hmm.
parents
Right.
seeing us wear clothes that they had given to my grandmother for us,
Mm-hmm.
seeing how good we looked in them.
Right.
And then we're wearing the clothes, not knowing where it came from. My grandmother just
Mm-hmm.
came home with the clothing.
Right.
And then we have parents walking up to us like, "Hey, that's a nice outfit you had on. Yeah, it used to look good on my son such and such."
Right. And my grandmother was a seamstress, so she made all my clothes. So I looked like I was a fashion plate because my grandmother made them. Little did I
Yeah.
know that, how much money she brought in or how much money my mother brought in, because my mother always made me look like I was that girl. And that's how
There
she
it
was
is.
doing me.
There it is, family. When you come up where we came up, especially when you even turn over to the 80s and the
Mm-hmm.
early 90s, even though we were out there wilding out, look at the style.
Yes.
We all had haircuts. We all
Mm-hmm.
dressed a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
We
That's
never
right.
had the battling with the dances. Can nothing replace the 80s and the 90s,
Nope.
right?
And the
So,
70s.
oh, it just yeah, that's yeah. I'll go with the 70s,
70s,
especially
80s,
the
and
tail end of
90s.
the 70s, the
Yes.
mid 70s to going into the 80s, and the
Mm-hmm.
80s going into the early 90s.
That's right.
That period right there is irreplaceable.
You cannot.
Irreplaceable.
That's the foundation for everything that's living right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. And so with that being said, family, as you can see, this is another set of comments here. This is someone also pointed out here saying both Tiana, the officer, and Cherie, the bank manager, showed sisterhood as they stood up for Taraji. You see this buzzword sisterhood, right? And so my response, and I'm gonna explain to you guys real quick why it just kind of I kept saying sisterhood, sisterhood. Well, this is
Mm-hmm.
my response to this individual. It says sisterhood is an interesting choice of words, which is synonymous with sorority.
Mm.
Your comments are the reflection of a sorority in which the extremely over the top portrayals highlighted in this movie. Your response is that of women who worshiped the Queen of Heaven, or it should be Queen of Heaven worship, excuse the typo. But what you fail to acknowledge is that she arrived to work late, lied to her supervisor. I ain't gonna get into that part, but the part at the end when I say, I guess stuff like this, the sisterhood ignored. Of course, they didn't respond to it after I said that. But the point that I'm making is, uh, if we're not careful, we have to be careful with these brotherhoods and sisterhood things, because we can make it as if we're in a fraternity or sorority, and that if you don't go through certain things, then you're not a part of the sisterhood, you're not part of the brotherhood. And just to my point right here, sisterhood, the etymology dictionary definition of this word, it says state of being or having a sisterly relationship. And look at what it goes on to say, sister plus hood, the meaning a society of sisters. Then it goes on to say the census of women. This is going back to the 15th century. Women having some common characteristics or calling. But then it goes even further. Sisternity, fraternity, right? It says the sisternity on the motto of fraternity, also used in the 17th century for the institution or covenant society, sistership, right? And then this is where we get the word sorority as well. A society of women, body of women united for some purpose. And then you'll see the first official one in the United States, Alpha Delta Pi, here inside this country. So I just wanted to just bring that up just to make sure that we're not taking things in a way or a path that when we say sisterhood or brotherhood, like you have to go through certain things to be validated as being part of the community. Any thoughts, sis?
You're absolutely right. We use that word so freely that we don't even understand the ramification of what we're saying. Sisters or sisterhood, sisters doing it for themselves. That whole genre of saying things and not even understanding what all that means. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Berean Scholar posted this in the comment section. Let's see. He said, I was trying to pull this comment up. He says,
don't forget about how.
don't forget how some of our people
Oh
use
yeah,
use
the
black
black
card.
card. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a fraternity.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to go through certain things, or your mannerism have to be a certain way in order to be considered being part of this community.
Mm-hmm.
And real quick, I see someone in the back. I'm gonna bring them in real quick, sister, then we'll go
Okay.
into it. All right. Want to say peace and blessings. I see someone in the back here. Any thoughts real quick before we continue on?
Hello.
Yes. How are you, ma'am?
I'm good. I just in general am not into Black movies that is tailored to the community. There are some stereotypes that I don't appreciate. But at the same time, with this movie, I don't know if just recently with my experience generally with people in the community, I did see a theme that was relevant, which was the lack of brotherly love and affection. So I generally don't appreciate Tyler Perry's movies or Black movies in general. I typically don't watch them, but I felt like that was something that needed to be addressed, the lack of love and respect.
Yeah, and for me, and from my angle, I see it differently. And not saying that you're wrong about and I want to make it clear. I'm not refuting anything you say. Each one of us are entitled to see and what our observations of the movie. But for me, when we start getting into the brotherly love, and I, people that know me, I do so much. I'm an advocate for defending our community as a whole, and I've done so much to help. Our ministry has done so much to help so many women in this awakening that have been subjected to abuse and some of the other things. For me, it's just like I said, when I look at that movie, to your point, I don't see the way that the movie is portrayed. I mean, portraying the men. Look at how the men, for the most part, is portrayed. And it's not just this movie. A lot of his movies. That's why it just really didn't sit well with me on a lot of the movies. When you look at the man, it's like, okay, what's going on with the men? Look at how the men is portrayed. I think it was, I can't remember one movie that he made with Janet Jackson. It was like every guy in the movie, for the most part, that was in
Poetic
some type of
justice.
role was in depicted as in a negative way, and it just really didn't sit well with me. So, but that's my thoughts, and that's a great point. Brotherhood, or should we say support of? Because when we say brotherhood, sister, I just really I'm very conscientious of my word selection,
Mhm.
but what we'll just say the support of the men. You know what I mean?
Well, I was not speaking particularly about men. I'm just talking in general terms, like
Okay.
Men and women.
I got you.
Yeah, so I'm not saying men. I'm just like using the term I see in the Bible, like in 2 Peter chapter 1, where add to brotherly love, brotherly affection. I was just seeing in the movie that the point that she reached really did not have to get to that point. And I feel in general that is a big problem, a lack of love and respect for one another. Like if someone's crossing the street and you're in a car, you should stop at the stop sign and let that person cross the street, especially if you see that they are Black like you, quote unquote. And oftentimes that's not being done. Just the general courtesies that you should just do to show respect for one another, because a little act of love and respect can go a long way. And that's what I got from the
Yeah.
movie.
Now, from your perspective, and I understand that point, brotherly love, right, versus brotherhood, right? Because like I said, when we put that brotherhood, it makes things into like a sorority fraternity thing. But I
Yeah, I
understand your
understand
point when you're
that.
saying from the biblical perspective, brotherly love, that gives a completely different, you know what I mean,
Yes.
overtone to it. And I definitely understand the point. And that's, we're going to get into some additional things about the movie because for me, there was still some things, even though she had a hard situation, things coming at her, but there were still some subtle things that she could have handled better when
Yeah, I
you really
agree.
watch the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
And
agree.
that's the point that that was kind of my angle as well, is that yes, she had a lot of hard times, but there was a couple of key things when you go back and you just listen and replay some of the things, and we'll get into it. Like, and I'll let Sister Carol get into it as well. But just starting off with, matter of fact, I'll bring the quote up. Matter of fact, you can stay on if you want to. I'm gonna bring the quote up,
Okay.
and I'll let you guys get into it. But I'm gonna bring it up. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but let me just bring it up. Let me go through here real quick. Here, let me see here. So first 15 minutes, right? So that's why I put it up, because those first 15 minutes, it was so much to digest. So for starters, we see the opening scene. Of course, she's getting up out of bed, getting a child together, but she's going to the car, right? Janiyah gives money to Benny, right? Benny, and shout outs to Tyler Perry for allowing, now I can't think of his name, the
Sinbad.
comedian Sinbad,
Sinbad.
because, he's really, I just believe that a lot of the comedians let him down, because he had hard times with his health and kind of been put on the back burner.
Oh, no, no,
So,
no, no, no. I have to correct you in that. All about 30 comedians came together and they did a show on his behalf,
oh,
and
I
all the
apologize then,
proceeds.
because I didn't
Yes,
see that. I didn't see
yes,
that
they
because
did.
I
They
was I
gave.
was questioning a while back when it first happened.
No,
I
they
was like,
came
where are the
up.
comedians? Okay,
No, as
I
a matter
stand
of
corrected.
fact, Ernest J gave him $50,000 of his own money.
Okay, we're
Yeah,
cool. I stand
yeah.
corrected.
Okay.
My apologies. All right, I'm not one of those that can't be corrected. But thanks, Sister Carol, because I didn't see that. But thanks for
Yep,
bringing it
they
up.
did.
All right, but shout outs to Tyler Perry for looking out for him in this manner. But this is what stood out. The landlord said this: so you can give him money, but you can't give me my rent.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
done already filed eviction. Right? She responded and said, I get paid today and I get a break at 10. When I get that break, I'll bring that money straight to you. I promise. And she even told her that she was going to have her stuff on the streets if she didn't do that.
That's right.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys get into it. I just wanted to start off with that because that is key if you really watch, when you really watch the movie and you start seeing little things like this. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay. She has some accountability here as well.
Major accountability. As a matter of
All right,
fact,
go ahead, Sis Carol. I'll turn it over to you. And sis, what's your name that jumped in here?
Oh, my name is Claudia, actually.
Claudia. Okay,
right.
Mhm.
okay. Really appreciate you jumping on. Really appreciate it.
Oh, no
Go ahead,
problem.
guys. I'll turn
Thank
it over
you.
to you guys.
As a matter of fact, she was already served eviction notice. It was on the table. If you remember when the movie started, it started off in the bedroom, but she in the bed and waking up for the morning with her daughter in the bed with her. And they were showing, scanning the room with the dirty dishes and the food in the dishes had been sitting there for how many days. The eviction notice on the table with food on top of it, clothes everywhere, the fan, the fan in the window, the broken fan on the in the ceiling with the three blades on it. So it was setting the scene that she had already been put on notice, that she's been struggling with this for a while. And the landlord was at the last end. She gave her umpteen hours to get it in, and it was over with. So obviously she is getting her grace up until that day to get her money to her.
Yeah.
So when she saw her leaving out that morning to go to work, and she gave Benny some money for him to get something to eat, of course it's gonna piss. And you did it in front of the landlord who's looking at you. And the
Now,
landlord has every right to say something to her about, so you can pay Benny some money, but you can't pay me.
now, come on, family. How many of you guys been there? Someone owe you money, and you always see them with new stuff. Right, but they always have an excuse not to be able to repay your money. I have a relative. I remember I lent them. I lent them money, and it was a substantial amount. They forgot that I lent them money to the point that I had to borrow my own money back. I borrowed the same amount back from this individual. Then they called me up asking me when am I going to give them their money back. And I had to remind them that, hey, remember I gave you this amount and you never paid me back. So to that point, it makes you feel some kind of way. So any thoughts, Claudia?
Oh, well, at first, when I saw that beginning part and the landlord asking, well, where's my money? You got him his money. I saw, yeah, like, why are you doing that? But once the end of the movie happened and you have the real gist of what happened prior to that morning, I understand that there is some psychological issues going on in that woman. But
Right.
at that point, I was like, you shouldn't have done that in front of the landlord. And yeah, the landlord was justified. She was pretty fed up. But at the same time, I felt like her approach, just considering the kind of woman she was, she seems like the character seemed like she was a very reserved woman, doesn't know how to stand up for herself.
Yeah.
Allows things to stack up when she should be addressing them head on, or keeping the landlord abreast or making little payments or something like that. But yeah, I agree. Like, where's my money?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Like, give me
But
a dollar.
you know what I mean? When you watch it, it's like, okay, you can, once you get past all the big stuff, you know what I mean? That shock of all what she's going through. It's like when you start going back over, it's like, and to your point, even when you get to the end, but you still see some things
Mhm.
that's like, she seemed kind of off.
Yeah, she
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
there's a mental delay there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I do know that there are people, especially, when it comes to handling pressure, they just check out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't want to deal with bills. I have family members, I'm sure some that's me watching this live, they don't even open up bills because they get such an anxiety, that certain, if they open up a bill, they feel like they getting ready to get kicked out. It could be something so
Yeah.
simple that they overpaid. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But just the psychological impact on bill, that term bill, that just put them in a certain mindset. So, okay. So, go ahead, Sister Carol. You could kind of help walk us through some of the things, leading up to, you know, her burning out. Matter of fact, I got a couple more notes here to help navigate it, and we'll bring Berean Scholar, and you guys could go in. So, the other thing that stood out, right, when they got to work, she did late, but nevertheless, she get to work. Someone is out, so she have to fill in, right? So she's in line. She reject a customer who's misusing the WIC card, which is rightfully so. That tells you she has some type of integrity that apparently some other workers were allowing them to do that. But it says, but in a nutshell, the customer threw a bottle at her feet. Threw a bottle, broke it. So now she was told by the supervisor to go in the back, to clean, she going in the back to clean up, not just cleanse herself up, get them up and come back out there. But instead, she's in the back. Her friend offers her money. That's what really stood out. Her friend offered money for her daughter's medicine, which she rejected, right? And while her friend left her there, when she got she got a phone call from the school, and that's when the supervisor comes in, and they have their exchange. And make a long story short, the supervisor told her to be back in 30 minutes. All right, so I'll stop right there. I'm gonna bring Berean Scholar, and you guys could go ahead and Sister Carol, Sister Claudia, go for it as I bring Berean Scholar in.
Well, before that even happened, after when she took a child to school and dropped her off, the teacher looked at her. And plus, before that, in the morning before they left for school, her daughter told her that the kids was bothering her and the teacher was bothering her because she didn't have money for lunch. And evidently it's supposed to have a $40 stipend and to keep her to have lunch for every week. And her mother hadn't been supplying it for her. So the $40 was already understood she needed to get this money. So when you give money to Benny, you don't have money for your landlord, but you know you need this $40 for your daughter at school. So when she drops her daughter off at school, the teacher's looking for her, looking at her like, do you have this money for your child? So when she gets to work, which she's already late, she has no urgency to get to her job. She's just walking down the aisle. She see the long line. The cashier's over here trying to check all these people out in the grocery store. And the woman's struggling, looking at everybody's looking at her like, why are you just shuffling in? Like, you know, you don't see what's going on. Get to work. Supervisor see her and like, what are you doing? Why are you late? Why you act like you don't see this line out here? Get up, get to the cash register and clock in and get to work. So no sooner as she gets in and start checking someone out, of course, you just mentioned about the WIC card situation, and then the manager comes over and try to appease the customer about what happened, and telling her to clean up the broken bottle and all the contents on the floor and glass. That's when she gets a phone call from the school. Now she just got to work, that she needs to come up to the school for her daughter because of this $40 situation. So she goes to the back, takes a phone call, get ready to leave. Supervisor catches her. They have exchanged words. He told her, look, I'm tired of you doing this. I'm going to give you 30 minutes to go take care of what you need to take care of and get back here. When she leaves out, her coworker offers her money. Still needs $40 that she don't have. And she's going to try, she don't get a paycheck to the end of the day, or whatever time that he's going to give his paycheck, but your coworker's offering you money and you reject the money. And it escalates from there. So she's not even rationally thinking, well, let me get the $40 from my coworker and I can pay her back when I get my paycheck.
Yeah.
Which is the logic thing I would have done, or a normal person would have done, with rational thinking. I don't have the $40 right now, but my coworker can offer it to me. I can pay her back when I get paid.
Yeah,
And
I
that would
agree with
prevent
that.
her from having to make a stop
Yes.
at the bank.
Which is going to be the next
And she
thing
could
going to
have
happen.
went straight
And
over to
a
the
boss
school.
seeing her. Now I told you to
Yeah.
go to the school. You going to the bank across the street. You didn't say you
Yeah.
had to go to the bank. You said you had to go to the school, get emergency at the school.
Yeah, yeah, and Sister Claudia, I thought I sound like you were skimming to say something. And before you do, Berean Scholar in the building. How's it going, Berean Scholar?
I am doing fine, guys. I'm just fine. So I'm just waiting for Sister Claudia to say what she had to say.
Okay, and feel free to jump in there. All right.
Yes, when that scene where she's going into work, she has no urgency. Again, I'm like, what is wrong with this woman? It sounds like a zoo out in there. And I was like, that scene was kind of over the top. Like, I've never been to a grocery store that was that loud, but
Yeah,
right. It was all
backed
in the
up and
hood. So
everything. It was backed up.
I almost say it's like a Dollar General or whatever the case may be. Some hood grocery store, family owned grocery store, it would look like to me.
Piggly Wiggly.
yeah, it was like a hood store, but
A hood store. Yeah.
I've never seen it get that backed up.
Me neither.
I haven't either.
I've never. It
This
sounds
is
like
the first must be the first of the month. Got to be.
Yeah, it was, and it just got this ghetto vibe of like
Yep.
almost a riot.
Yep.
So that was kind of like alarming to me. And at the same time, again, I'm like, where's this woman's head at? She's just seems kind of out of it. She's just, walking in casually, and there's
Right.
just open chaos going in there, and she's just, nonchalant about it. And I do agree that she should have just accepted that $40.
Yes.
And just make things. So again, there goes that issue of not just taking accountability or just being creative, and trying to get through and solving issues for herself.
Correct.
Absolutely. Berean Scholar, you're up next.
I intentionally didn't have a dog in this fight because I saw the trailer and saw all the promos for this movie, and I said, "Oh, another one." And I didn't watch. I haven't watched it yet. So when I saw the promo, I said, "Another one." And it's so like when you describe what you saw, I said, "Well, I didn't see the movie. It seemed like I have seen the movie already."
Yeah.
But it's another incident where the people who run the industry wants to have this stigma and this this image in front of our eyes all the time, and it's important. They know if we see this all the time, they will stay in that mindset.
Well, that's Tyler's genre. He always make movies about the struggling black woman.
That's why he made his
His
money.
first movie
It's
was
making him money to do
a
that.
diary of a mad black woman. That was about the struggle of a mad woman that, her husband was cheating on her, all these things to her, and she had to fight through. Then he went on to something else. A woman fighting through the series where Why Did I Get Married? Woman had to
Right.
do. She had to fight through.
And just like Pablo's dog, he made the movie and they paid him money to do it, and he kept doing it.
Yep.
Yeah. And so now where we at here, as you pointed out, Sister Carol, with her supervisor, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know that the supervisor was over the top. He was belligerent. But
Yep.
one of the things that stood out is his comments that he made to her, that he's been having this problem with her
for a minute,
for quite some time. This is a
Yes.
recurring issue
With
with
her.
her having to take off, tend to her daughter and things like that. So what he expressed was a reoccurring issue that she's had some problems. So we've established that, as you pointed out, she already had an eviction notice there.
Mhm.
But it's like, okay, if you don't have money, you need money for your daughter's school.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you giving this person money so he can eat, and you telling him don't spend it on alcohol?
Right.
Because apparently he's an alcoholic, and
Yes.
she's giving him money before, and he didn't do what he was supposed to do with it, and he'd spend it on alcohol. But you have your daughter who's on medication,
And she
who
got to
needs
eat
to
at school.
Exactly,
Right.
she needs to eat. So that's kind of like, in family, we're just walking this thing out, because one of the things in our community, and I just believe that we have to do, is really take accountability, right? Of course, don't get me wrong. We are dealing with systematic racism. We're dealing with so many different things, but there's still some moving parts that we can take accountability in order to, from a perspective of, to ensure that at least what we can control, we're going to control it as best as we can. Now, all of us have made decisions and made choices that burned us, but had to come, like my grandmother would say, have that come to Jesus moment and accept accountability, saying, you know what? Okay, I made a poor decision right here. Okay, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to learn from my mistake, cause and effect. But nevertheless, so she leaves there, she goes to the bank, and she can't get money there. So she's on her way to the school, and another over the top situation happened.
Mm-hmm.
She has a driver who's dealing with road rage, knocks off the road.
That was
come to
afterwards.
find out to be a police officer.
That was afterwards. That was on her way back. That was her way when she left the school on her way back to work.
I thought that was on her way to school.
No.
But either way.
Right.
So she, she gets to school then, if that's afterwards.
Afterwards,
But
right.
she gets to school. Her daughter gets taken from her.
Mm-hmm.
Because of bruises that they saw on her. And of course, she didn't show up on time. So I'm sure that's not looking good either, because she didn't show up on time. They're waiting for her. But now her daughter gets taken from her.
Mm-hmm.
She leaves from there. She's in her car.
It's raining.
It's raining, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Road rage. A driver loses it, hits her car, have her spun, and threatens her and all that. Come to find out he's a crooked cop. He's a cop.
But she was wrong, though. But all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what happened when the police officer asked her for her license and registration? She's driving with a suspended license.
Yep.
She's driving.
Right.
So, and again, we all been there before. You start trying to prioritize what you can pay and what you can't pay.
Right.
Right. And some things get lost. But the bottom line is, we still have a level of accountability. I go ahead and turn it over to you guys.
Yeah, she's the one that caused the whole situation with the car situation, because she pulled out. She was caught in traffic trying to get back to work. It's pouring down rain. And so she decides to, instead of looking before she pulled out, she just pulls out in front of this car and got sideswiped and turned the car around. So once she got herself together, she started back driving. And of course, he gets pissed off because it's a brand new car. He comes after her. Like you said, the road rage came, which a normal person would do anyway. Because somebody drove out in front of you, you're gonna get angry. I know back in the day, I'm gonna chase you down too. I don't do
Yeah,
it
I ain't gonna
anymore.
chase you down though. I mean,
I chase you
that was
down.
still a little over the top
I
though,
will
man.
chase you to
I didn't.
wherever I'm gonna
Yeah,
chase you to wherever you go, to the ends of the earth.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. Well,
um,
anyway, but that I just think that was over the top with him hitting her,
Yeah.
and it
well,
could have
yeah, it
caused a
was.
bigger problem. That was no
Well, that part
justification.
was
You know what I mean? I
right.
understand being upset because I've been there, but when it gets to a point that you're using your vehicle as a weapon, like he did
Hmm.
with her,
Hmm.
and he could have killed her. You know what I mean? He could have did
Yeah.
more damage, not just to her, but other people. And he's
Right.
a police officer. That's the key. He's not
Right.
just a regular Joe Blow. He's a police officer.
Correct.
I remember that scene differently. She had cut him off, and
Yes, she pulled out
and
without looking.
they did not connect. But then he was like, "Oh, I'm coming after you," and so
Yeah.
he went after her, and that's when he had bumped into her and caused her to spin around.
Correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, she pulled out without looking in the middle of
Yeah.
traffic, and they did have a little fight. She lost control of the car. At that moment, she grabbed control of the car and started back driving. Because remember now, it's pouring out rain, so the roads is slick. So when she got contained the car and he got control of his car, he came after her, charging
Yeah.
down the street. So he caught up with her, and that's when he bumped her, and he knocked her out again with a 360 on the street until the car sputtered out. And then another police officer came on the scene. And then he identified himself as a police officer. And then it went
Yeah.
from there. But he just went ballistic on her.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just
All this in one day?
Yeah, all
Yeah,
in one
th-
day.
in the morning. It's the morning
This all
time.
happened within a 2-hour period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the morning.
That's why I was like, okay, this is like way over the top. You know what I
And
mean?
got to the end of the day. This
It
was the
was
early morning. Right.
It's still more to go though. This is
Yeah.
still more to go. This not all of it. It was like I'm sitting up there like
He took every conflict and every crisis that can happen in a person's lifetime and threw it in 2 hours, huh?
Yeah.
oh no, he didn't do it in 2 hours. He did it in the first 15 minutes.
Yep.
Wow.
It was a lot. It was
a lot.
It was
whole
I
lot.
was like, you ever see like the old cartoons, like the Wile E. Coyote, it's like almost like whatever can go wrong, goes wrong. He runs into a wall, and
Yeah.
then some behind that thing runs into him. Then some behind that thing runs into him. It's just like it's like a daisy chain of just impossible things happening all at one time.
Right.
Mhm.
And I was like, wow. And that still was not the climax of the whole situation.
Mm-mm.
That's still within the first 2 hours.
It just kept going.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with the Black genre. It's just always this exaggeration of life. Like even with those movies where there's a so-called romance movies, it's just, a love triangle, or, it's always some kind of very over the topness that it's just, can we just have some kind of normal, happy movie? And it's just like everyone else has. It's just to encourage. All right, I want to escape in a movie and have something to laugh or smile about. But it's always with the Black movies. It's always something just make your stomach coil.
Well, then you need to watch Hallmark movies then. You get all that.
Oh no, I don't like those movies. I don't like those.
You can watch that all day, get all what you just said. Everybody goes home and roses and the music.
Yeah, but even then, like, get back to this, right? Think about it.
Right.
Now she's in this accident. All these things happen.
Yep.
Now she's walking home to her.
She's walking back to the job.
She's walking back to the job.
Yeah.
Right. But did she walk home first and find out?
No.
She walks
She went
to the
back
job.
to the job. She went back to her job. Remember now, she got to get her check.
She got to get her
10
check,
o'clock.
right?
10 o'clock to get back to the for her.
Yeah. So
landlord.
she got to the job, no car, wet,
Mhm.
and of course the boss goes off on her because he's like,
for 2 hours.
You're
you've been
dripping
gone
on
for
the
2
floor.
hours. And you went to the bank. You didn't go straight to do what you said you was gonna do.
And you soaking wet.
And you soaking wet. He was like, he fired. He's like, and then she said, "I'm sorry," but he said, "No, I'm not sorry." You know what I mean?
And then what cracked me up though on that, she said, "Can I get my check?"
Yeah, so here it is. She leaves. I mean, and that's still she leaves there. Then she goes home
Mm-hmm.
and she realized all her stuff is out on the street. She's been evicted. This all in the 2-hour period.
Yeah.
Gloom, despair, and agony on me.
Exactly. But you know what? There's a movie called The White Man's Burden, which is the flip of this, where a
Yes,
white man
yes.
went through this whole situation. Black people were running stuff. They were in power. They were elitists. They were in the
Remember
control.
that movie?
And man, John Travolta went through similar to this
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, but I'm just like, man, it wasn't a 15-minute period, 2-hour period like this.
Yes,
man.
it was. It was 15 minutes. He had one thing to do, and it just
I
went
don't know.
downhill.
But in here, to me,
Right.
even if that movie did go through this, that's way excessive, man. I mean, it's like, come on. So she comes to work, she's fired, but she still asks for a check. She leaves there, go home. All her stuff is out on the curb, and she's kind of having her Effie moment or her color purple moment, like, why? You know what I mean?
That's the color purple.
And guess what? She woes back to the job.
Yep. That's the part that got me. She want a check.
She goes back to the job.
I feel like when he had fired her,
Uh-huh.
he had said, "Oh, this is a reoccurring issue with you."
Yep.
I felt like, why don't you just show her some mercy, give her the check, and be done with her? I felt like that was an opportunity of showing some brotherly love.
He was tired of her.
I would say this, and I'm going to say this because I had a trifling employee
Mm-hmm.
that I did all kinds of things because I felt sorry for him. This guy literally was, I'm not going to mention where I was working at, but nevertheless, this guy was living out of his car. Basically, he worked shifts. He worked my night shift. Make a long story short, he didn't have a place, so that was basically his place of residence, working night shift. So he had a tendency of falling asleep. I'm getting write-ups of the night supervisor finding out that he's not doing checks, that like auditing and all that other stuff. I'm not going to get into the details, but I'm meeting with him, having counseling with him, warning him. I'm about to let him go. Then he shares with me his entire situation, that he was paying child support, alimony, the whole nine. He showed me the paperwork, and literally his wife, pretty much between child support and alimony, was taking 90% of his check. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So here it is. I'm trying to work with him. And I never forget, I let him know that there is a major inspection coming, and there's going to be a team coming sometime this week. And mind you, when I say sometime this week, this is like Wednesday now, and they haven't shown up. So he still have Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night. He says, okay, I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to do. I'll make sure I'm not gonna disappoint you. You covered me. You had my back. You this and this and that. Well, I come to work Thursday morning, and I see write-ups on him. They came in and he was asleep. And mind you, where I was working at, for every hour that the system is down, it's over $1.4 million.
Wow.
He's asleep, knocked out at his desk. Alerts are going off, and he is asleep. Right then and there, when I found that out, it got to the point I just had to say to myself, either it's going to be my paycheck or his paycheck. Apparently, my paycheck is not important to him, because if his paycheck is not important, my paycheck is not important, because now he's jeopardizing me.
That's right.
So all the consideration, all the things trying to look out for him, and all that other stuff went out the door. And I believe, like this supervisor here, at the while, it's like, wait a minute, you don't care about my paycheck. Why am I going to care about giving you your paycheck?
Yeah.
That's how I felt like he just got to his wits end. Like, you know what? Enough is enough.
Correct.
You had the nerve to come back here 2 hours late. You didn't do anything that you said you do, a reoccurring problem. And then you're going to ask me to look out for you. No, I'm going to abide by company policy, and you're going to get your check in the mail.
Correct.
Because I'm not going to lose my job
behind you
because I'm looking out for you, even though he was belligerent. But that's how I took it, because I've been in that scenario a
so
few
have I.
times, and I said I would not. Nope, not my paycheck. My paycheck is more important.
Yeah.
Correct.
My livelihood, I still have to take care of my family. And apparently that person, and like her situation, she's constantly putting other people in jeopardy in
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that she could have done, like accept that money from her friend.
Mm-hmm.
Could have
Eliminate
helped
the whole thing.
change some of the
Dynamics that was going on with her.
Now,
I
since
yield.
I'm probably the only one that haven't seen the movie, but I did. Like I said, I saw the promo and I saw the things beforehand. And I also saw a interview with Taraji P. Harris, Sarah Shepard, and I think it was Rodman Dumas, who was in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and Tyler Perry. And they were paying homage to Tyler Perry about how they in this industry they haven't been paid like everybody else paid, and other than working with him. He makes sure they pay like everybody else get paid, on the same level with most other stars that get paid.
Right.
So again, if the industry is promoting and rewarding those images for being there. Now, when they play in other people movies in movies that are not directed by a black person, they don't get paid on the same level.
True.
They might be playing roles that they're respectable people or they have a respectable role, but they want to keep that image in front of us so we stay where we are.
Mm-hmm. And plus, Tyler likes this kind of imagery too. And mind you, now this is all his money. It's not Hollywood money.
Yeah.
This
Well,
is Tyler's bankrolling it.
It's his life.
But he pushes this agenda. He's always rolled the film in this genre. In this genre right here we're talking about. I can go back to the very beginning even when he was on the Chitlin um, um, world circuit when he was doing all his plays.
Yeah, you're
All
right.
these plays was all about that. It was about the struggling black woman because that's what he grew up with.
Yeah. And now, with that being said, transitioning, because it's still more to go,
Mm-hmm.
because she went back to her job to get money, her
Right.
check, after being evicted, and situation happened. Some guys run up inside the place to rob it. Right. She fights one of the guys, shoots one of the perpetrators, but then he flips on her,
right,
her former boss, and pointing the finger at her, saying that she has something to do with it because one of the guys mentioned her name.
Correct.
So he started going in at her.
Correct.
Instead of being appreciative. So it's so many dynamics, and then she shoots and kill him.
In the head. Shot him in the head in her anger.
In her anger.
Right.
So I'm gonna stop right there. You guys could go from there. I just want to get it to there. This is all the first 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, and he was handling payroll. He was on the phone call handling something. And when the robbers came in, he opened up the safe and all this cash came out. I was going to think then that she was just going to grab, some money and try to leave out the situation with the robbers, but she didn't even do that. I'm like, even after she killed him, she didn't even get the money. She went and got her little paycheck off the desk and leaves out with the gun still in her hand. Now, she didn't even leave the gun. She took the gun with her because she had her daughter's backpack and she packed some of her daughter's things of medicines that was on the ground because everything that was in the apartment was dumped out in the front and was getting rained on. So she picked up her medicines of her daughter and put it in her little backpack along with this. Her daughter was exceptional. She did a scientific project. I forgot what the tool was. I think it was some kind of electronic thing that was conducive to water or something. I can't remember what she said in the very beginning what it did. But it was a science project she had for school. So she packed that into the backpack and took it with her. So so she took a little paycheck with the gun that she killed these two people with, and then goes across the street to the bank, back to the bank again, because now she wants to cash a check with the blood all over the paycheck because the blood splattered from the killings that happened in the office. So she gets there, finally gets into line to cash her check. She can't cash it because she don't have any identity because her purse and things was left in the car and it got towed. And she had to go back and retrieve, which I didn't understand why she didn't take her purse with her. She left everything in the car, and the car got towed, and it just came back to work
empty-handed, so she could even cash a paycheck. So now she's angry, and then she pulls the gun out and points it at the cashier. Other cashiers see she pressed the button to alert, that we got a robbery in progress. So it alerts everybody. And Sherry Shepherd, who is the branch manager, gets a phone call from the police. And it goes from there. I'm going too far with the movie now.
I think
Oh no, you good.
YouTube is gonna get
We
you.
laying
back.
it out. Sister Claudia, any thoughts or additional comments? Because I know she also pointed out some of her decision making and just the way her character was. It was like something wasn't, like the old school would say,
Mentally
the
late.
elevator wasn't hitting the top
Yeah.
floor. Like,
She was slow. We used to call you slow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, with that, in that scene, I just wondered why was she making decisions that she was making, and I'm like, okay, this guy comes in, knocks you upside your head, tells you, I want your bag because I'm gonna put that money in there. Why don't you just let him have the bag, and just kind of extinguish the situation? And then her boss, I think he's just absolutely cruel at this point, because he goes ahead and accuses her, and during this situation of being in on it, on this burglary. And I'm just like, where are you coming from? Look at this woman. Like, do you really think she's sitting here in cahoots with this robber here? So again, it's like, I felt like her boss is just absolutely on some other level. Like, I would just be looking at her like, do you need a mental evaluation? Where can we take you where we can help you? Because it's just too many things that are not clicking like it needs to. And then she picks up the gun, and she saves her boss, but instead of being grateful, he starts accusing her, and then she turns and does this stupid, like, something's not clicking in her head. She goes and shoots him. I'm like, no, I'm not robbing you, sir. I'm not robbing you. She should have said that, or and just wait for the cops and go from there. But she goes and shoots him and goes off with the gun to the bank after she finds her check. So it's just, again, I'm just like, this movie, and I usually feel like this about Black movies, it's just not adding up, making sense. But I'm going to sit here and go on with the end of this just to see where this leads. But yeah, I'm just, every step she takes, she's making a fuzzy brain decision. And it's just like, how many fuzzy brain?
50 minutes.
I'm sorry.
I said that had to be more than 50 minutes. That's a lot.
Yes, that's a lot of stuff. Just
we're now at we're almost to the 45-minute mark.
It's just nonstop fuzzy brain moments, just like not connecting correctly.
Did you stay to the end of the movie?
Oh yeah, I watched the whole thing.
Was she mentally had some issues, or
Yes.
She had a breakdown.
Yes.
At the very end, it explains what she's going through. She's going through depression of her child.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's just,
she was blacked out, and she's living in a fantasy of depression.
Yeah.
So depression is the reason why she wasn't keeping the house clean, wasn't staying on time.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And that's an issue. I feel like mental health and just taking care of one's body. So that's what I just didn't, I just kind of focused on, and during the whole entire movie, on the mental health and just taking care of oneself and brotherly love, which I felt like it was relevant to bring up.
Well, the first thing is probably that's not being discussed is that we do not deal with mental health.
Yeah.
We're a non-mental health activating activist community of people.
Yeah.
We ignore it, and we cope with it, and we think everything's done with prayer instead of dealing with the physicality of the science of the health of what's going on inside the brain.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, and this is just my thoughts on it, and I'm not saying that it's right, but I can understand.
Mhm.
Look at what the institution of mental health has done towards our people,
Mm-hmm.
even to come up with some of their baselines of their assessments. Look at when we were not considered human
Right.
and the things that they were testing and subjecting us to, starting with the women, because they felt like the women have a higher threshold. So therefore, you have more that you can take mentally. So it's layers of systemic abuse when it comes to that area of medicine. I mean, you have entire communities that was decimated
Yeah.
down in Georgia, right? That was completely decimated by those that was doing that's in the medical profession,
Mhm.
leading the way based upon all their experiments. I mean, they
Right.
got all kinds of accolades off of experiments treating us as the guinea pig. Now, I'm
Correct.
not
Yeah.
saying it's an excuse to, uh, you know, downplay the importance of understanding mental health, but I can understand why there's a phobia towards those things, not just towards that, but even when you deal with police officers, we have
Mhm.
a phobia because of the abuse that we had to suffer as a community. So that's
Correct.
just my thoughts. I know that it's important that mental health is something that has to be addressed within the community. But I believe part of it is because of us being the recipients of the abuse of it.
And I think that's more cause and effect. You're right. You're so right. Because we've been abused so much, mental health and physical health,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
our community do not trust the medical field. So you're right.
Absolutely. Well, that's where the stigma came from of the strong black woman came from because of the experiments that was done all throughout the 16, 17, 1800s, and even 1900s on us. And to see how the threshold of pain that black women can handle more so than white women. We have a very strong tolerance to pain. And that's why they treated us the way they treated us. And that's where the stigma came from, strong black women. And we don't even realize when we're saying that that's what it came from.
It's an
Go ahead, Sister Claudia.
Oh, and another statistic I saw about a few years ago is that Black people are the least likely to get the amount of rest that we need
Yeah,
of
correct.
all the races. So she kept mentioning she had two jobs. So that's
Hmm.
another thing
Yes.
that was playing with her clarity in mind.
And that,
Um,
I'm glad you brought that up.
mhm.
'Cause that was another thing that was driving me crazy in the whole movie. She needed money. Why didn't you go to your second job and get an advance on your paycheck?
Yeah.
That never
Well,
clicked in either.
Well, you know what? And going back to that point, as you guys summed it up at the end, depression, depression does a lot to people,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Depression, can it could be like a pendulum swing. One way, one angle they could be extreme in one area, and the next minute they could be extreme in another area. Like 1 minute, depression can have someone become just eat, just
Hmm.
just binge out on eating, while on the other end it could cause someone to not eat, lose their appetite, and close out, close themselves, cut themselves off from others. So you can, when you summarize it, that could be with her going from one extreme to the other because of depression, especially when you're not addressing anything.
Hmm.
Because one of the things is that pride could kick in and say, I don't need help. I'm not going to a psychiatrist. We've all in our families, if you haven't been directly involved in something like that, but you
Hmm.
have family members saying we're not talking to no one. You have, because of the stigma
Mhm.
of if you go to a counselor or something like that, then you have mental issues.
Yeah.
Right. Right. But hers kicked in because her daughter had died and she was overcome with the grief of her daughter dying.
Yeah.
Which when they showed the scene in the beginning
In
where
the
her
beginning with her,
with her
yeah, the
daughter
hospital.
carrying her out, and then they finally when she flipped out in the bank, when her mother called her to let her know, what are you doing? And she told her, your daughter's dead. She died last night. And then we went back to the beginning where she died at the hospital. And when she went home, she just she checked out. She crashed all the way out.
Yeah,
And
she
she went through the whole routine of the day that she would normally do when she get her daughter ready for school, take her to the school, and there was nobody
Hmm.
with her, but she was going through all the motions, even drove to the school. Now we understand why the teacher looked strange at her and waved at her because she
Yeah.
had nobody she was dropping off. And she just was drowning in her grief.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
that is one of the things that I not to jump movies, but if you remember in the movie Sinners, where the blues player was telling a story about his comrades that he played music with, they got hung and mutilated and all this stuff. Instead of expressing his anger or expressing his hurt, he started humming and singing the blues and patting his leg.
Mhm.
And when he done that, I said, man, that took me right back to childhood, seeing my parents and my elders, how they dealt with stress and anger. They changed the subject or they start singing spirituals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you know what my and it made me think about, just to your point, Berean Scholar, is my grandmother. When I talked to her, because there were certain things that would trigger her, and actually sitting down with her when I got older, and she started expressing it, she saw a lot of death. She shared with me how she saw lynchings,
Mm.
in Albany, Georgia. And so she just made it a point that when she got old enough to leave, she was going to leave. So it's a lot of things that our ancestors had to witness, and when I say ancestors, family, I'm not going back centuries ago, just a generation or two ago of what they had to experience. And a lot of the things we experienced through them is because of what they had to deal with. And for the most part, they tried to handle it the best way that they could, because during their time, they didn't go to the doctors. You had to really, put them in a car, take them to the hospital. If not, they will walk around with injuries or whatever the case may be. They'll just tough it out that way.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So, but in a nutshell, I know it's getting kind of late here, but let's go ahead and summarize this. Now for me, you guys already know how I feel about the movie, but you know what I mean. What's your guys' thoughts? What's your final assessment? And what would you say to the people that haven't watched it? And family, this was a spoiler alert, but it is what it is. Apologies. Starting with you, Sister Claudia, what overall, based upon what you saw in the movie, what was if you had to summarize it in your final thoughts, what would it be?
Um, I would say that it's worth watching, just to support
The
some of
actors.
the yeah, because I know Tahar, I don't remember her name exactly, but the main actress, she
Taraji.
has Taraji, she has
Mhm.
been very vocal about the just the unequal pay, the lack of opportunities. And so when I saw her on the cover, I was like, okay, I'm going to support this woman.
Mhm.
Because I remember when she did this, I don't remember the title of the movie.
The Color Purple.
Oh no, it was like way back. She's on the cover of the movie where she's wearing a black dress with her legs crossed. It's one word, and I remember she came here where I'm at, and actually paid for people to come and see the movie, just to go ahead and fill in that seat. So she is really much and trying to get a footing in the industry. So that was like my main reason. I'm like, I'm going to support this woman. But I would say just go out there and just support. That's the only reason why I watched it was her. But yeah, and then just to say the overall idea of the movie, I don't particularly like it, but I just got one message, and I know it's brotherly love. I have a problem with that. Brotherly love and affection in the Black community. That's all I got out of it. That's my
Understood.
opinion.
Understood.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
the movie name was Acrimony. I know. I know what you're
Yes,
talking.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. That's it.
Wow.
That was a good movie.
It was. Yeah, I
That
enjoyed
was a good
it.
movie.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
Was
Got you.
another Tyler Perry movie.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Okay. Next up, go ahead, Sister Carol, since you was already giving your thoughts.
I guess the best way to sum it up is grief is real and depression is real. We all have struggles, and any of us can snap at any point in time. And we have to be conscious of when we see someone who's struggling
Yeah.
and to offer them any kind of assistance that we can when we identify it. I mean, I teach now in academia and higher learning, and I see it in my students. And before I came in, I was in the industry in healthcare. I saw it with my employees. And of course, you have avenues you can send people EAP, but when you see someone like this in a grocery store, to say, for instance, you shopping, you see someone struggling because they're trying to shop and they can't, get it together, hold together, there's something underlying there. And we got to be conscious when we see people who are going through and offer them assistance and aid. Like you said, the brotherly love, offer that love to them so they can get what they need to get to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Berean Scholar.
I haven't. Like I said, I didn't see the movie, but I am very. I'm keen on what I see now versus what I know, what I knew before. The imagery that's portrayed in front of our community is very important, and we need to be, like you said, watchmen on that, because our people are being fed a steady diet of some terrible things, and that's not who we are.
Yeah.
That's who they want us to be, but
Mm-hmm.
not who we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my assessment, guys, I already gave it. So,
Right.
but I'm not gonna harp on that. But I will say this: regardless, it's a movie, even though it has some real life situations that each one of us can relate to. But it's a movie. It's no need for us to be rude and disrespectful towards one another over this movie or
Mm-mm.
any other movie. Everyone is entitled to their thoughts and their opinions and their assessment of what they see. So let's be respectful, because again, when it's all said and done, we have to give an account for our actions. But with that being said, really appreciate all you guys for jumping in. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up here
Thanks,
because
Pastor Kelly.
it's getting kind of late. But thank you again, Claudia, for jumping on.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate your
Thank
input.
you.
Really appreciate it, brother. Berean Scholar, Sister Carol. Thank you guys again. So with that being said, family, in the words of Yahweh that he gave to Moses in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14, to Israel as they were in a state of confusion, ready to go back to where they came from, and that was into Egypt. He said, "Fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today will not have power over you ever again. The Most High will fight for you." But here's the kicker, family. We have to hold our peace. Can't go back, can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.